Nearly a third of adults 18 to 29 in the U.S. are regularly getting their news exclusively from TikTok. Pro-Palestinian and pro-Hamas hashtags are generating 50 times the views on TikTok right now. These videos have more reach than the top 10 U.S. news websites combined. The Chinese Communist Party is doing this on purpose. And if you look at what's happening at Columbia University and other campuses across the country right now, they're winning.
That was Republican Senator Pete Ricketts in regards to the TikTok ban that Biden signed a few weeks ago, where it disclosed that TikTok would be banned in the US within 9 to 12 months if ByteDance did not sell to a parent company in the US, which is not going to happen. But I also imagine that TikTok will not be banned within that 12 months because there will be multiple lawsuits that carry this thing out much further than that. But right there, you just had Pete Ricketts saying the quiet part out loud. That is what I've been saying since the beginning. They don't exactly like that young people are getting their news from TikTok. And at the end there, as you saw, he said that this is the reason why there have been protests on college campuses all over the country. Now, the thing that you have to know about these protests are that they are in regards to a couple things. One, they want their colleges to disclose where exactly all of their money is going to. As they are paying for college, they would preferably not want it to go to a foreign country to continue bombing civilians. Divest from Israel, because as we know, these college campuses are funding Israel. Now, why are these students upset with funding Israel? Well, if you are somehow living under a rock, Israel has displaced over 2 million people, killing over 35,000 of them, of which over 15,000 are children. They are committing a genocide in the Gaza Strip, which is one of the 2 territories left of Palestine. And students, and a lot of the world, are not too happy with this. A lot of normal people with hearts and souls see kids dying and they're like, wow, that's fucked up. Maybe don't do that. Maybe that's actually bad. Hence why you are seeing these protests. And what I've been seeing from mainstream media outlets these past couple weeks disgusts me so fucking much. There are so many claims out there that these protests are pro-terrorist, that they are violent, that they are anti-Semitic, all of which are just blatantly not true. And what's wild is that there are people that will watch what they say and believe them when you have the entire internet at your disposal to do your own research. There are live streams of these protests going on constantly. You can find these live streams on TikTok, on Twitch. You can find clips on Twitter. It's not hard. And yet they keep spewing this narrative that these are violent protests, anti-Semitic protests, with nothing to back it up. Now, obviously, I'm not going to deny that anti-Semitism has not risen in the US in these past 6 months, as has Islamophobia. But I think what's important is that we have to look at where this anti-Semitism is coming from. And where this is all stemming from is the US government and Israel. A few days ago, the House of Representatives passed the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, HR 6090. Now, in theory, that sounds good, obviously, right? I mean, we're all against anti-Semitism. Yes, racism is bad. But when you take a closer look here, it just makes less and less sense and just fuels more anti-Semitism. So a few things here: calling for, aiding, or justifying the killing or harming of Jews in the name of radical ideology. That's good. Good job, guys. Yeah, that's bad. Holding Jews collectively responsible for actions of the state of Israel. Good. That's good. Yeah, but then they completely contradict themselves with this: denying the Jewish people their right to self-determination. For example, claiming that the existence of Israel is a racist endeavor. What? Huh? So if I claim that Israel's apartheid regime is bad, that it shouldn't be happening, I am anti-Semitic. And this isn't something that I'm making up. You can look this up yourself. Amnesty International, multiple other sources have declared Israel an apartheid state. During the Nakba of 1948, 750,000 Palestinians were displaced from their homes and Israel was established. Israel has been taking over Palestine for the past 75 years. They literally have segregated roads with checkpoints for Palestinians because they aren't allowed to go to the same places that Israelis can go to. It is an apartheid state. This isn't a question, but me saying that makes me anti-Semitic? So you are equating my criticism of a foreign government to all Jews worldwide, which is not only ridiculous, but in and of itself is anti-Semitic, because there's thousands and thousands of Jews all over the world that disagree vastly with the state of Israel. There's thousands of Jews out there that have been protesting against the ongoing genocide in Gaza for the past 6 months. Holocaust survivors have been on the streets. Children of Holocaust survivors have been on the streets because they are well aware that genocide is not good.
My mother died ashamed of what Israel was doing in her name as a Jew to the Palestinians. She'd be turning in her grave at what is being done to the Palestinians, who have been totally dehumanized. Describing Judaism and Israel in the same breath is the greatest anti-Semitism of them all.
Any rational person, any critical thinker can see that an action by a government does not reflect an entire race of people. That's wild. It's wild. And yet that's what our governments keep trying to do. They keep fueling this anti-Semitism into our brain, claiming that we're anti-Semitic for disagreeing with that, claiming that Jews are anti-Semitic for disagreeing with that. At UCLA and multiple other colleges, Jews were partaking in Passover at the encampments, and yet somehow they're anti-Semitic. Call me a little crazy, but I think it's a little anti-Semitic to call Jews who are protesting a genocide anti-Semites, claiming that Jews can't have individual thoughts and that they have to agree with everything that a foreign nation does. I think that's a little anti-Semitic, but you know, what the fuck do I know? Now, of course, with any movement, you're going to have outliers. You're going to have some weird people here and there. We've seen this in other protests, like the BLM protests, random people shouting things like all white people should die. Obviously, that's bad. That's not good. But I think the important thing is to look at the movement as a whole, to look at the goals as a whole. And the goals for these encampments in particular is to divest from aiding Israel and to end the genocide. But recently, Biden came out with a statement in regards to the protests, and it was not good. It was pretty bad. It was really bad. Actually, it was really bad.
Violent protest is not protected. Peaceful protest is. It's against the law when violence occurs.
So Biden claims that these protests are violent. I would like to see any footage of a pro-Palestinian protester inciting violence. I've seen hours of multiple protests. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen agitators go in and disrupt them, causing violence while the police stand back and do nothing, like we saw at UCLA. Here we can see Zionists shooting off fireworks into the encampments. Which is pretty on par for Zionists, considering they love sending explosives into areas with unarmed children. Kind of makes sense. Here we can see counter-protesters beating this man up just for standing there, blocking the encampment. Really brave stuff from those 5 white dudes beating up on a person of color. Good stuff there. Here we can see them attacking an elderly woman. Incredibly brave, guys. Keep it up. Keep it up. You guys are doing the Lord's work. Or here we have a pro-Israel agitator hitting someone over the head with a wooden plank. Where are the police? Yeah, they're just watching, because this is what they wanted. This is what they wanted. Just they didn't have to do it. But then we saw something very different at Columbia. Columbia being the main encampment that kind of started this whole thing, where we saw so much police brutality. There was no violence going on whatsoever until the police came in, which as always is par for the course for police, because if there's anything that police love to do, it's beating up on minorities, it's beating up on children when they're in their riot gear. Dude, you have to be so insecure to become a cop, to have all these weapons on you, to have bulletproof vests, to have riot gear, and then beat up unarmed protesters. I don't know how you could sleep with yourself at night. I genuinely don't. What cause do you think that you're helping here? It's the only job where you can beat the fuck out of unarmed people and still get paid. But that brings me to Hamilton Hall at Columbia, where there was just an insane amount of police. Like, just look at this footage. Look at this footage. All of this for unarmed protesters. So if you don't know what happened to Hamilton Hall and the significance of Hamilton Hall is an area that has been used in protesting for years. We can go back to 1968 when the building was seized during protests over the Vietnam War. We can go to the anti-war protests of 1972 when the students locked themselves into Hamilton Hall. We could go to 1985 when protesters padlocked and chained Hamilton Hall as they demanded that the university divest from companies that were doing business in South Africa. Sound familiar? It's almost like college student protesting has always been on the right side of history. Isn't that weird? So recently the students went into Hamilton Hall, they broke the windows and locked themselves in. They barricaded the doors and they renamed Hamilton Hall Hind's Hall. Now, if you don't know who Hind is, Hind was a 6-year-old Palestinian girl trapped in a car for days after her family came under Israeli fire while trying to flee northern Gaza. She was on the phone with the Palestinian Red Crescent trying to get help. She told them that there was a tank right next to her, to which right after that you hear her scream as the IDF starts shooting the car that she's in. It's a really fucked up story, and that's only one of many. 15,000 children have died. Many lose their limbs every day from bombs, and yet we continue to help aid in the ongoing killings of thousands and thousands of children. The people of Gaza are going through a famine right now, and it's not like they can get much food because Israel continues to kill the aid workers. Children are dying of starvation. Israel has killed the most amount of journalists ever in any conflict in these past 6 months. And yet for some reason, we're getting upset with the protesters that are protesting the ongoing slaughter of thousands. Here you can see the mass amounts of police that are storming into Hind's Hall, breaking down the doors with their guns pulled on unarmed protesters. It's wild, bro. The amount of shit that you have there at your disposal, all of these weapons and everything, all for unarmed protesters in a building, and Biden's upset and calling them violent because they broke some windows.
Destroying property is not a peaceful protest.
Oh, Biden, I didn't know that we cared so much about property damage. Oh, isn't that funny, huh? That's interesting. That's really interesting. Here we can see police officers pepper spraying a member of the press. Here we can see police officers beating up more women because they love to do that. That might actually be their favorite thing. As long as they can keep harming women and minorities, I think that they're happy. I imagine when a police officer jerks off, they're just thinking about the amount of women and minorities that they've beat up that day. Here we can see them knock someone down a flight of cement stairs. Only profession in the world where a 45-year-old man can beat the fuck out of a college student. And I know that it just makes their day. I know it just makes their day. They're so happy. Look at that guy right over there. Look at that guy right down there just kneeing on the back of a college girl. Dude, he's so happy right now. I bet he feels like such a man. He's like, yeah, this is what America's all about. Like, it's just straight up fascism. All of this for people protesting a genocide. Imagine if what's being done here was done in another country. Dude, the US would be having a field day. They'd be like, see what they're doing over there? They're suppressing their First Amendment right. People are dying, people are protesting against it, and then they're beating up the protesters. See guys, this is why America's the best, because you guys have free speech. But then whenever it happens here, they're like, actually, let me take that back. Actually, let me take that back. You have free speech unless you're criticizing a foreign government. Then you kind of cross the line a little bit. You saying bad things about my boy Bibi Netanyahu? Don't you be doing that? That's my homeboy. And of course, the narrative that the mainstream media will keep telling you is that there's an outside force. There's somebody turning all of these pro-Palestinian kids into terrorists.
There is a hidden hand involved in what we're seeing spreading across campuses and spreading across this country. There is so much shaping going on. Yes, on campus a little bit, but much more so online, social media, specifically TikTok.
Sort of radicalism that has mainstream students getting propaganda, whether it's from their professors or whether it's from communist Chinese government through TikTok.
They're obviously terrorists. Granted, they haven't done anything violent. Granted, there are thousands of Jews protesting with them, but there must be someone behind it. Like this dumb fuck police officer who claims that this bike lock that they locked themselves into Hamilton Hall with is not something that a normal student would carry. This is something a terrorist would carry.
Tell us about this change.
Yeah, so when we entered Hamilton Hall, this is not what students bring to school. Okay, this is what professionals bring to campuses and universities. These are heavy industrial chains that were locked with bike locks.
Yeah, not too long after that, it was shown that this is just a bike lock that is literally sold at the Columbia University. I want to know how many times police have to get hit on the head when becoming a police officer. Like in training, do they just like bash your skull in so many times that you just lose every semblance of your brain? Like your brain just does not function anymore. You can't think. You can't just do a little bit of research and find out that this is just a normal bike lock. And then you have MSNBC creating this narrative. Here we have Florida cops using tear gas and rubber bullets on students at South Florida, doing what cops do best. But as I said, it's not just police that's doing all the violence. There are also a lot of Zionists out there, counter protesters that have been spewing nasty, disgusting shit. Like this woman right here that says that she hopes that these people get raped. That's completely normal behavior. Here we got some old fart saying, kill all of you bastards.
Hey, kill all of you bastards.
He's probably shitting in his pants right now, I imagine. I imagine he's just walking through there, just shitting in his diaper. Here we have another Zionist shouting the N-word. So far, I've seen 3 white male Zionists shout the N-word at people. No agitating going on there. Where's the police for that? I don't see them. I don't see him. Where are they? Granted, though, that is what police officers enjoy, so who knows? That guy might actually be a police officer. Wouldn't surprise me. Here we have a Karen that walked onto an encampment and immediately called the police because she felt threatened, despite nobody doing anything to her. You can easily see that she can leave at any time.
I need help. I know that, but they're surrounding me. They won't let me move.
No, you are free to move. You are free to move. She is free to move.
I think this one might be my favorite video, though, of this Jewish woman going to a protest with a shirt that says Israel on it. And the entire time she's screaming, dox me, while there's literally Jews for Palestine right there.
I am not afraid. Look at my face. I am not afraid. Put my
They want to be the victim so bad. There's Jews for Palestine right there. Nobody hates you because you're a Jew. They just don't like genocide. This victim mentality is so insane. And then more recently at Ole Miss, there was a Palestinian protest, which I gotta say, I'm incredibly proud of these people. They are in an incredibly racist community. So the fact that they went out there and did this anyway, knowing the reaction that they would get from people, I have nothing but respect. Yeah, so here we see a white student making monkey noises to a black woman. He definitely has a bright future ahead of him trying to get a job. Actually, you know what? I was being sarcastic when I said that, because obviously I would imagine that he would have a hard time getting a job with how racist he is on camera. But then I thought about it, and he'll probably just become a police officer or somebody in Congress. One of the two. It is funny to me that all of these like anti-protesters don't even know what they're protesting against. Like you just see them all like wearing like flags and shit. I don't even think that they know what Palestine is. They probably don't even know what Israel is. They just see that there's people of color out there protesting and they're like, yeah, fuck you. Go Trump. And here we have Mike Collins saying Ole Miss taking care of business while sharing that same video of that white student mocking a black woman by imitating a monkey. This is an actual man in Congress promoting white supremacy. And here we have Lauren Boebert saying, I get a strange inkling that all of these Columbia and UCLA students running around yelling free Palestine would not be jumping at the opportunity to do a semester abroad in Gaza. Yeah, I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because none of them exist. Yeah, I don't want to do a semester there, because I would die by the bombs that my tax dollars go to. Here we have Israel's ambassador to the UN saying some pretty interesting things about the encampments.
We always knew that Hamas hides in schools. We just didn't realize that it's not only schools in Gaza, it's also Harvard, Columbia, and many elite universities.
So I'm guessing that within the next few weeks, considering Israel has already destroyed every university in Gaza, that we're next. You know, seeing as how Hamas is in our own tunnels, seeing as how we are now Hamas, it's only fair to say that these universities are next. USA Hamas is next. But mind you, it is not just Republicans and conservatives that are against these anti-genocide protests. You will see many Democrats opposing them, exactly like Biden did. These people are not progressive. They do not want to see systemic change because frankly, they don't care. And that is one of the many reasons why I hate liberals so much, because they will always claim that they love progressive movements, but then whenever there actually is one, they're like, yeah, but guys, can you be a little quieter? Can you be a little less noisy about it? Can you just chill it down a little bit? We saw this with the BLM protests when Obama was president. Obama literally called them thugs. But then once Trump became president, then they were all on board because Trump didn't like it. So obviously then they had to get on board. And I guarantee you that's exactly what we're going to see here. You will see many liberals, many moderates that will oppose all of these protests for the upcoming months because this isn't going to stop here. This is only going to get bigger. But because Biden doesn't care about it, liberals don't care about it. It's Biden. You know, he's doing the best he can do, you know? What can he do? What can he do? He's just one guy. They always love claiming progressive qualities when it's like in the past, you know? Like, oh yeah, if I was there for MLK, yeah, I would have been out on the streets with him. No, you wouldn't have. You would have been one of the people saying, yeah, I get why Rosa Parks was sitting there, but like, she caused such a commotion. Like, couldn't she have just moved off of the seat? But with all of this happening, I still don't want the focus to go off of Gaza. A lot of the students that have been organizing these encampments, I am so proud of. Agitators continuously come into the encampments trying to stir things up, and they consistently just don't interact with them. It's so good because that's exactly what people want, is the reaction. When they know that the priority at hand is stopping the genocide, is to stop their tuition money from going to Israel. This right here is why we protest.
احنا اهل غزة بننبسط كتير لما نشوف طلاب امريكا واقفين معانا وحاسين فينا وجينا نشكركم بطريقتنا البسيطة. بتمنى تستقبلوها بحب. شكرا كولومبيا. شكرا أوروبي. شكرا سينسفو. شكرا بلاشة. شكرا يه.
That right there is why we keep talking about this. It's for those children that know that they might not see tomorrow. After seeing so many dead kids on my screen for like 6 months, it's really cool to see like kids actually like hopeful. Okay, so I'm gonna cut in here because nobody wants to watch me cry on screen. I don't want that. You don't want that. We don't want that. But in between the time of me recording and editing this video, there's been some major updates that I wanted to fill you in on. So since October, Israel has told the people of Gaza to move further south as they continue their bombing campaign. They told the people of Gaza that Rafah was supposed to be the safe zone, which is the area that is furthest south. So currently there's about 1.4 million people in Rafah. But now Netanyahu changed his mind. You know, I mean, who would have guessed? So now Israel is going to invade Rafah. So now the people of Gaza have to move north again into Han Yunis. Han Yunis being the place where we discovered were mass graves of over 300 people. These people having zip ties around their wrists. So the IDF either executed them and buried them, or they buried them alive. So as you can see, things have worsened a lot in Gaza. Even in this past week that I've been editing this video, it's unimaginable what they're going through right now. Many of them are staying in tents. Water is basically undrinkable. According to the UN Development Program, it is estimated that Gaza would need approximately 80 years to restore all the fully destroyed housing units. It's insane. I don't know how anybody in their right mind could deny that this is not a genocide. When you have Israel calling Palestinians animals and saying that this is a fight between darkness and light, literal straight up Nazi shit. But to add on top of all of this, multiple Israeli whistleblowers have come out and told CNN what Israel has been doing to Palestinian prisoners, or you might use the term hostages, torturing them, beating them. It's a straight up concentration camp for Palestinian men. There's also been multiple reports that Israel has been using drones that imitate the sound of crying babies or screaming women to lure Palestinians out into an area where the drone can then shoot them.
قوات كابتر قتلت صوت أطفال الآن من مخيم انسارات.
Will you look at this report?
I am sure we'll look at this report, Sam. I don't have any comment for it on it right now.
At first, I wasn't even sure if that was true because it sounded like so insane. Because we know that Israel has been targeting civilians. But at that point, like, you can't even argue that you're not targeting civilians because you are quite literally using human decency, human kindness to your advantage to kill kind-hearted people that want to help. It's so fucked up, and I'm sure that there is much more to come out of all of this. This is just all the information that I have right now. What these people are going through is unimaginable. The fact that we've dehumanized them so much is fucked up beyond words. So why I am making this video is to bring awareness to all that's going on and to ask you to donate if you can. Operation Olive Branch is really great. They have multiple organizations that you can donate to. You can donate to families themselves to help them get out of Gaza. Anything that you can donate would be so helpful to these people. I will put links in the description and in the comments section. If you would like to represent the people of Palestine with merch like this, or like the other shirt that I was wearing in this video, I bought this from Wear the Peace. They donate all the profits to feeding families and aiding in Gaza. But that's pretty much all the updates that I wanted to add in here. I will now let you get back to former me. And always remember that people will continue to call us radicals when this should not be radical at all. Protesting against the genocide should not be radical. Me talking about this is not radical. This is the bare minimum. This is the bare fucking minimum. When there are 30,000 people dead, people will try to convince you that we're radicals, that we're terrorists somehow, when this is bottom of the barrel. This is what I should be doing. If you would like to know more on the Israel-Palestine conflict, I would highly suggest Norm Finkelstein. He's a professor. His parents survived the Holocaust. He's talked about the subject a lot. Noah Sampson has been documenting stuff that's been going on for the past 6 months. Hassan Piker, obviously, has been speaking on this a lot. Many, many more. But with that being said, thank you for watching, and free Palestine.
I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride toward freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klaner, but the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. Actually, we who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive.